Hi, I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast. I'm a mum of 8 and I'm just passionate about sharing how much relevant wisdom Judaism has for our modern day lives. In this episode, with my Wednesday night group of women, we had a discussion about the role of a vision and how that vision can help us in our day-to-day life.
So let's start with a nice, easy question like we like to do on Wednesday nights. Who do you want to be?
A better person.
Okay. Any other thought? I mean, that was a quick answer, Gail.
Well, I think that's our job in life, is to always improve. So I think each day that you go by and each time that you combine, I think that's what Rosh Hashanah and everything else and Yom Kippur is about, is trying to improve yourself each time. So,
Yeah. Okay. Any other? I mean, there was a really good answer. Any other thoughts? Any other question? Any other answers to that?
Content.
Okay.
In a sense, not putting too many pressures on yourself to make you feel like less content. So not necessarily not being happy with what you have, but being content like mentally in your
Right.
attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Let me just let Reese in. And then, okay. Any other, both good answers, Gail and Lindsay. Anyone else? Hi, Doris. I think it's Doris, right?
Hello, yes. How are you?
Good. Yes, I remember that Eitan. Hi, Doris. I remember Eitan. So it's your son that's Eitan, right?
Yes, Ethan, yeah.
Yes, Ethan. Okay, sorry. Welcome. So we're just getting started, and we were asking the question of who do we want to be? So we had a couple of answers. Anyone else? Anyone find it hard to answer that question?
Yeah, me.
Okay.
I don't know who I want to be. I want to be me. I just don't want to be me the way I am always. I don't want to always feel so stressed. But there's nobody I'd rather be, I suppose. There's nobody I kind of want to be.
Right.
Just a better me.
I always get bored of being me. Don't know if anybody else feels like that, but I don't know. I couldn't say to you who I'd want to be, and I can't think of someone that I'd actually want to be. But I almost get bored of being me.
Right. So I'm gonna clarify. I'm gonna give you a similar question, but a different way of asking it is at the beginning of the pre-high holidays, Seed put together a bookmark that they sent out to some of their people, and they on it had a bunch of different thought questions. One of them was questions such as, what project or goal, if left undone, will I regret most in a year from now? Or another question is, what do you want people to remember you as? Not to sound morbid or anything, what do we want on our tombstone? That's I think that's
You want people to remember you, I guess, for who you were as a person, for the kind of person you were, not what you had materialistically or what you could give to them materialistically, but how you made them feel.
Oh, and just to make it simple, because I think most of us know what you're referring to, but how would that be?
Kindness.
I want to be. Yeah, I want people to think I'm
kind.
Sense of humor.
Sense of humor. Okay.
Jewish humor.
Any other thoughts? Any other? Sharon, Doris, Rachel, any?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine.
just a lovely person, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's about how you make other people feel about themselves.
Or
as
how
well.
other people feel about you as well.
Yeah.
Also, like, well, how do you want to be perceived by other people?
I think isn't there a phrase which says that people won't always remember what you did or always what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know the origins of the phrase, but when I lived in Canada, we lived in 2 different cities, and I ran 2 different Hebrew schools in each city. And when parents used to ask, like, "What's your philosophy of the school?" It was a supplementary Hebrew school. That was my answer. It was like, the kids are going to remember what I taught them, but they're going to remember how they felt about it. And it's true. Will they remember the details about, what happens when exactly in Judaism? No, but they're going to remember how they feel about Judaism. I feel like the same way about the homes that we raise our kids in. It's as the kids get older, the details do matter, right? And the education does matter,
Yeah.
right? But you can never underestimate how much that like giving them the thirst and that desire for Judaism is important. But we digress a little bit. Now let me ask you a question. We're going to step back a little bit and ask: Is it important? Is it important to know? Because some of us, I think like if even those of us that answered right away who we wanted to be, I think it's not the easiest question to answer. If I'm fair to say, like, how important is it to know who we want to be? Does it matter?
No, I think it's more like about like how other people said, what other people, not necessarily just think about you, because everyone's always got a different perception, or not saying an agenda, but a different perception. It's more like, think how it's a bit deep, but more like your soul. Like, you want to be remembered as being like a good soul, like within. And you can't please everyone, because not everyone's going to like you, and you don't like everybody else, but you can kind of join in and you work out who wants to talk, who doesn't want to talk, in different circles. And somebody thinks you're nice and somebody else thinks not so nice. So yeah.
Remind me, whatever, at the end I've got a story that's going to relate to what you said, Lindsay, about the soul. And I would say, like, other people's perceptions matters, but only to a point.
Yeah.
A lot of times other people's perceptions of ourselves is more related to them, related to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a topic for a whole nother. It's interesting. We've done a couple, and in the Perrick project, we've done a couple of the podcasts that have spoken a little bit about, like, other people and earning other people's honor and stuff. So it's a topic for another time. Okay, so let's say, so Lindsay, you're saying it does matter. Anyone wants to argue that it doesn't matter? It doesn't. You don't really need to know who you are.
I think you need to know who you are in order to be that person in real life. And
Have we frozen again?
Oh, is it me that's frozen? Sorry.
Oh, for some reason. Is that better now?
It's fine either way to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay, great. I think, I don't know what it is. It's just on my computer that every so often it freezes. Apologies about that. Okay, so let's look at this week's Torah portion. There's a very, very fascinating story which, off the bat, tell you we're not going to have enough to go into exactly what happened. But let me try and give you an overview, and I think we'll find something very, very fascinating that we learn from it. So Isaac has 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. Now, just to give you a snapshot of who they were, Jacob, the son, who's very much focused on spirituality, on Torah study. He's described as a wholesome person. Esau, on the other hand, is described as the ultimate materialist, the ultimate person who's interested
only in his own, in the physical pleasures. He's a person that goes out, he hunts, he enjoys the physical world. Now, one day, Esau's out hunting in the field, and Jacob is making a soup because his grandfather Abraham has passed away, and he's making a soup for his father Isaac to have. And so Esau comes home, and he's absolutely starving hungry, and he turns around to his brother Jacob and he says, Jacob, give me that soup. And his brother sees that there's an opportunity here. So he tells him, I want you to sell me your birthright. Now, what is this birthright? Is that Isaac is going to give the firstborn blessings to Esau, because Esau was born first. But what that comes with is that the firstborn is then going to be the one that's going to serve in the temple when the temple is built many generations later. And it's going to have all the responsibilities that comes with it. So Jacob wants that. And Esau's response is, what do I need it for? So Esau says, sure, I'll sell it to you. And let me read to you what the Torah says. So it says, Jacob said, swear to me today. So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob gave Esau bread and stew, and he ate and drank, got up and left. Thus Esau despised the birthright. So I'm going to ask you two questions on it. We have a principle in the Torah that the Torah is as brief as possible, right? Whenever it uses extra words, it's there to teach us something. Now, if you look at it, the story could have ended and Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil soup, and he ate and he drank. What do we learn by the Torah telling us that he then got up and left? The story's over. He's made the sale. He's had the soup. We don't need to know that he's left. And the second thing is that when it says that Esau despised the birthright, really it's out of place. It makes more sense to say it when Yaakov says to him, sell me your birthright, and Esau says to him, look, I'm going to die, so what do I need it for anyway? It makes more sense that the Torah should have said it at that point, and Esau despised the birthright. Any ideas why? So we have two questions. Now, what do we learn about the Torah telling us that Esau left? And number two, why does the Torah only tell us right at the end that he despised the birthright? Why doesn't it tell us at the point of sale to say, he sold him the birthright because he despised it? Any thoughts? All right. So let me give you a scenario that you may or may not be familiar with. There's a term in the English, well, it's probably not in the dictionary, known as hangry, right? When you're really, really hungry. Anyone's ever made a silly decision when they are really, really angry and hungry at the same time?
Yeah, not rational.
Yes. So what's happening here is that the Torah is not passing judgment on Esau yet, right? When Esau comes home and he's starving hungry and he says, give me that soup. And his brother says, sure, I'll give it to you, but just, sell me your birthright. And he says, I don't need it, you take it. The Torah doesn't say anything. The Torah says, maybe he's starving. Give him a chance. Let him eat and drink. But what happens next is telling, right? Because what happens next is usually if any one of us is hungry and we make a silly decision or we snap at someone, we eat, and then after we eat, we regret it, right? So the Torah doesn't say anything until afterwards. But what the first thing that Esau does afterwards is that this is giving us a snapshot of who Esau was. Esau was a person who lived totally in the present. He had no vision for the future. If you look at the language, he says, I'm going to die. What do I need it for anyway? He has no vision for the future. On the other hand, Jacob is a person who has a vision for the future. He's cooking this soup, right? His brother's coming home and he's hungry. And he understands, I want the birthright, right? I'll tell you, hold that thought for a minute, because I'm going to step aside for a second. It's fascinating Does anyone know why Esau didn't want the birthright? So the question that often comes up when people hear this story is, because if you follow the storyline along, which we didn't, I didn't give you the full story. What happens is he sells it, and then Isaac goes to Esau and says, "I'm going to bless you," and he goes and he gives the blessings. And what happens is Jacob gets the blessing instead of Esau. And at that point, Esau is terribly disappointed. He cries. The question that comes up a lot of times is, hold on a second, you know, he sold it. Maybe he didn't realize what he's selling. But the Torah tells us, when it says that he despised the birthright, is that he understood exactly what he was selling, and he didn't want it. Why? Because he understood, Esau was well aware of what the birthright entailed, but he understood it came with a lot of responsibility, right? When the Jews in later generations, when the Levites had to serve in the temple, there was a lot of responsibility that was on them, a lot of laws, and if they didn't follow the laws, there were a lot of consequences as well. And Esau said, I don't want that, right? Because if I have that responsibility, I'm worried that I'm going to mess up. And I don't want the consequences. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want the consequences. Which, when we hear that perspective, does it sound so bad?
No, because it's what you do with it to make something good. But then he didn't want the commitment and the responsibility, and if his actions were incorrect, what would happen? But then you suppose you've got to think, if your actions are correct, how things then flourish. But he was short-sighted.
He was extremely short-sighted. He was extremely he lived in the present and for the moment, right? He lived, you know, give me that bowl of soup. I'm willing to give up what the future's hold, because I want what's now, right? And right away after, so I'm going to go back to hunt. But what's interesting is that he's taken the task, because it doesn't, like, when we hear that the reason why he didn't want it is because he was worried that he wasn't going to
He lets
fulfill the
fear
responsibility.
take over.
Sorry?
He lets fear take over.
He let his, but I think more than just letting his fear take over is that I think we can all relate to a situation where we, you know, where we're offered an opportunity which seems, you know, a little bit beyond us, right? Anyone can relate to a situation like that, where you know, you're offered an opportunity, and it's a little bit beyond you, and it's a bit scary.
It comforts so.
Gail, I don't know your story of how you got into brownies, but I'm gonna ask you a question. When you took on the responsibility that you took on, was it something that was a little bit scary for you?
Yeah, but there was an excitement to it as well, and it involved my daughter, so it was kind of, there was a reason to do it.
Ah, beautiful. So there was a fear, right? But as you're saying, is that there was an excitement, there was a reason to do it, and why Asaph was taken to task is because when we're sincere about something, we're willing to take the risk, right? We're willing to take the risk of messing up because it's important enough, right? By Asaph saying, I'm not willing to take the risk and the responsibility of leading a spiritual life, he was basically saying it's not important. It's not important enough to me. Is that, would you say that would be correct, like a correct analysis?
Yeah, I can believe in it.
But is it not also immaturity versus maturity? You know, because what you do as a hot-headed 19-year-old might be very different from what you do as a married person in their late 20s or early 30s.
So Gail, you brought up a very, very good point. And the truth is that you're right? If you think of a child, right? If you think of a 2 or a 3-year-old, they live totally in the moment, right? They can be devilishly happy one moment, and then you give them the wrong color bowl, and like, it's almost like life's not worth living it. Right? They live completely in the moment. And ideally, as we mature, we become able to put aside our desires for physical pleasure for now in order to achieve long-term gains, right? So that's what maturity is, but it's not automatic, right? I think we all know, you know, or whatever, you may or may not know someone, but like there are adults that are not able to do that, right? There are adults that don't get their way, and they'll lose their temper, right? So, you know, they don't get, I don't know, the deal that they want on the thing, and they'll lose it with a customer service thing, right? It is maturity, but it's maturity that we have to work on. It's not automatically, like, you know, like when you hit 20, okay, all of a sudden you're then able to put your goals aside. You're able to look for the vision. So how do we get that maturity? So to go back to Jacob and Aesop, is part of getting that maturity is having that vision, right? Why was Jacob able to say, you know, he wants the bowl of soup, I'm going to ask him to sell me the birthright? Is because he had the vision, right? He had a vision, was that I want to be the father of the Jewish nation. That's what I want. I want to be the father of the people that brings Torah to the world, that brings morality to the world, that brings spirituality to the world, brings more, you know, meaning to the world. And he wanted that, right? And he had that vision in his head. Esau, on the other hand, didn't care. I want that bowl of soup, right? And I'm not willing to give up my bowl of soup in order to have that vision. But Jacob was. Now, what's beautiful about having that vision, right? And the clearer that vision is that we have in our mind, the more powerful it is that when a person has that sort of vision, it helps them overcome difficulties, right? Like, to put it like this, tomorrow's vision creates today's person. I'll give you a story that's I think sums that up. Some of you may know Rabbi Herman. Anyone here? Marcia, I see a smile. Yes, he is a phenomenal person. The national director of SEED. He lives in London. He used to live somewhere in Manchester, but I don't remember where. So a lot of people may know him. Anyway, this is a story about his mother. So his mother went through the Holocaust, and just after the Holocaust, she was with a friend, and they were out and they were passing a shop that was selling sausages, and his mother's friend said to her, "Let's go buy some." And it was a very tempting thing for them, because, you know, they had obviously gone through deprivation and terrible times, and here it was. And his mother said, "No, it's kosher." And so his mother's friend said, "Come on, just once, just do it." And she stood firm. She said, "No, I'm not going to do it." And she was asked, "How did you manage? How did you manage to withstand that temptation? Right? Just do it once." And she says, "I'll tell you why." She says, "Because I grew up in a home where Judaism was central, right? And I remember our Shabbat table with my parents and my siblings, and it was so beautiful. And I wanted that. That's my vision. I had that vision. I wanted to have that home where I would have that Shabbat table. I would have my kids around it, and I wanted to pass that on to them. And I knew that if I said yes to eating that sausage now, it was going to take me on a path that was going to take me away from getting that vision. And that's why, because she had that clarity of vision, she was able to withstand the difficult moments. So I think part of what's part of when we have that it's, you know, when we can answer those questions, right? Like, who do I want to be? What legacy do I want to leave? Right? What do I want to impart on my children? What sort of home do I want to create? What do I want people to remember me as? Right? What sort of things do I want to you know, how do I want to become better, right? And when we have a strong vision of that, then it helps us, that strong vision of who we want to be helps us today to transcend moments. Now, I told you a story, so I'm just gonna. I know we're a minute over, but Lindsay brought this up, that not all visions are equal. And you know, I think, what was your phrase that you wanted something about? You said something about a soul.
Yeah, like have to remember for your soul,
Right. To
like
remember
within.
for your soul, because not all visions are equal, right? So I want to tell you a very, very powerful story that I just heard. So there was a couple. They happened to live in New York, and they were, I don't know, in their 40s, 50s, something like that. And they had a dream, and their dream was that they wanted to buy a big house, a bit, you know, a little bit out, with spacious house, build it up. And they worked very, very hard for it. They both worked, and they put aside money, and they finally bought the house, and they finally put the plans into place, and they finally built this gorgeous, stunning house, and they move in. And unfortunately, they move in, and on one of the first few nights, the husband has a heart attack, and he passes away. It's an absolute tragedy. But what's unbelievable is what happens next. Is the woman, the wife of him, took that as a pivotal moment in her life, and she realized that materialistic goals are not enough, right? You can have a goal, you know, and even had the tragedy not
You
happened,
need to
and
go to sleep, Nathaniel.
you live for 80, 90, 100, 120 years. Material goals are not enough. And she took that as a moment where she said, I need spiritual goals. And she connected to Judaism, and she developed her soul because of it, right? Now, obviously, you know, obviously it's a tragic story, right? It is a tragic story, and I think it's amazing what Lindsay said earlier, and you know what Gail said, and what Marcia said, what all of you really said, Haley said about becoming a better people. All that's instantly tapping into that the idea and that understanding that a true vision and a true goal is a goal that affects our soul, right? Affects our eternity, affects that's going to leave us a legacy of who we are. And when we have that vision, right, that is a vision that's going to help us transcend the difficult moments of you know, of life, of day-to-day life, when you know, you have those moments, and you're struck between, do I do X and do I do Y, right? Do I whatever it is. I'm sure there are things that are coming to mind to you, if anyone wants to share anything, but that vision is what helps propel us forward.
Thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can get in touch via Instagram. I'm on Instagram as Gila Ross. And if you liked this episode, give us a like, a rating, a review, and subscribe for future episodes.